I've been a certified financial planner for over 12 years, and there are 6 lessons that I always keep coming back to. These are not flashy hacks. They're timeless insights that have made a difference for me personally and for readers, family, friends, and people I've worked with. I think they'll resonate with you too. Let's jump right in. Personal finance lesson number 1 is money is a skill, and it's a skill that anyone can learn. Most people label themselves when it comes to money. Maybe you've told yourself you're bad with money, or you're bad with spending, or you're bad at investing. Or perhaps you told yourself you're great at making money but can't seem to save it. But here's the truth. Investing, making money, spending money, saving money, these are all skills that you can learn with practice. Getting started in money management is like starting a fitness routine. You wouldn't walk into the gym and expect to squat 400 pounds on day number 1. Instead, you start small and then gradually increase over time. The same is true with financial habits. You begin with small, achievable actions. Maybe it's saving $50 this month, or investing a small amount regularly, or reading one book every 90 days. Over time, these incremental improvements build powerful habits. So the idea that has stuck with me the most is that you can always grow financial skills with practice over time. So instead of a fixed mindset where you're bad at spending money, bad at earning money, the proper mindset is you can learn anything with the proper practice. Personal finance lesson number 2 is financial awareness is key. There's a quote I love from Dan Sullivan, who's one of the world's best business coaches, that says, "All progress starts by telling the truth." And I think that's a perfect way to approach financial problems or even financial decisions. So many people avoid telling the truth to themselves about their finances because they are scared of what they're going to learn. They might not know exactly how much debt they're carrying, and they refuse to open their credit card statements. When people are struggling financially, it's often because they're hiding from reality, hiding from the truth. But you can't fix what you don't acknowledge is a problem. And that's why being brutally honest with yourself about your current situation is often the first step to seeing positive change. One powerful method that has helped me is to sit there and ask myself, what would my future self do in my current self situation? Stepping outside of my day-to-day circumstances and observing my situation almost like a third party would, even though it's my future self, often provides great insights. It's also smart to give yourself some sort of feedback. For example, a routine I've been doing for decades now is calculating my net worth twice a year. For others, it might mean tracking their debt balances on a monthly basis. A consistent feedback with your financial situation enables you to course correct quickly if you're headed down the wrong direction. Personal finance lesson number 3 is all about maximizing opportunity costs. Every financial decision involves trade-offs. Should you pay off debt or invest? Should you take the trip or invest for retirement? There's no universal right or wrong answer to these questions, but to make a good decision, what you need to do is understand the trade-offs of doing one versus the other. One of the biggest decisions that I've made with my wife in our financial background has been her deciding to stay home while she raises the kids. This was something she generally wanted, but it meant short-term giving up her career, her income, her 401k match, but also making some significant lifestyle adjustments as well. The decision was pretty clear. Having her continue to work would have been best for our family financially. But life isn't all about spreadsheets and numbers. Ultimately, we looked forward and decided what we wanted our lives to be like and carefully considered the trade-offs of what we would not have if we went that direction. And in the end, we agreed that trade-offs were worth it in this situation. Today, when I drive an older car or don't eat out often or don't spend as much on travel, I don't see it as much as a sacrifice. Instead, it's a reminder of the choice we made intentionally, a choice that aligned with our values, not necessarily a spreadsheet. So the key takeaway here is always evaluating trade-offs. Understand that choosing one path means not choosing the other, and that's perfectly acceptable. Personal finance lesson number 4 is to think big but act small. Big financial goals like becoming a millionaire, retiring early, or even saving for a down payment on a house. These are inspiring, but achieving these goals does not happen overnight. Instead, meaningful progress comes from small, consistent actions taken over time. For example, about 2 decades ago, I discovered index investing. I was fascinated by this, and I started investing consistently throughout my 20s. But it wasn't necessarily easy to start with. I had started investing before the 2008 crash, so quickly I lost a lot of money for me at the time. But the thing is, I knew what my long-term goal was: a well-built, diversified investment portfolio. And I knew that short-term reactions like pulling money out of the market or to stop investing through this rough patch wouldn't get me to my goal. Now at the age of 40, I'm seeing that compounding through my 20s really start to come to life. And it's a rewarding reminder to have these big goals, but it's often those small, consistent actions taken over time when managing your money that leads towards those goals. Ultimately, personal finances is something that's with you for the rest of your life. So let those big ideas, long-term visions inspire you, but let those daily small actions get you to your long-term goal. Personal finance lesson number 5 is what I like to call the golden mean. So on social media, it's easy to find people living at extremes. Some people might want to save 80% of their income. Others spend aggressively in their 20s because they only are young once. But I've found that true financial wisdom, and this is something I've learned from studying Stoic philosophy, is that moderation in itself is a virtue. So Aristotle first coined this the golden mean, the idea that virtue lies in balance, not in extremes. So for me personally, I found that balance to be, say, my savings rate of 15 to 20% of my income every year. And with that savings rate, I really don't have regrets about what I've not done in my past, nor have I had regrets about saving too little or money that I have spent. So moderation isn't flashy in this world today, but it's sustainable. You want financial habits that you can stick to for decades, not 30 days, not even 3 years. The real magic in personal finance has come from compounding over decades. So financial responsibility isn't as much as a factor of sacrificing today for tomorrow or vice versa. That's really a false choice. The right approach is one that enriches your life now while constantly improving your future. That's the golden mean. Personal finance lesson number 6 is to leverage compounding. There's an old saying that I love is someone is sitting in the shade today because they planted a tree decades ago. And it's the same with money. Compound interest is an incredibly powerful force. And your goal is to have it work for you, not against you. When you have high interest credit card debt, when you're making a lot of debt payments, it's essentially like swimming upstream, fighting against a very powerful force. And it makes financial progress really difficult. But when you have compound interest working for you, as in you're saving, investing, and letting your money grow, it's like swimming downstream. And at first, that current feels a little subtle. It's helping you little by little, but over time, it grows stronger and stronger. Eventually, you can get to a point where you're effortlessly riding towards your goals. So for me, the seed I planted was consistently investing in a 401k or IRA throughout my 20s and 30s. With the golden mean, it was never an extravagant amount, but it just became a simple habit I did every month. And after time, I hardly even noticed the money was missing. So I just adjusted to living without it pretty easily. Now, years later, those early seeds I've planted are really starting to pay off. That current is getting stronger and stronger, I'm realizing. So if you're just starting out, my advice is this. Take small, consistent actions today to let compound interest work for you and not against you. Even if that number seems small, a little compound interest working for you instead of against you goes a long way. And before you know it, you'll be swimming downstream and sort of fighting an uphill battle. All right, so those were my personal finance lessons, the ones I keep coming back to. If you found this helpful and want to dive deeper, I've written over 300 articles at The Ways to Wealth about personal finance. A great place to start with is my one-page financial plan that lets you get clarity on your financial goals. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.